Okay, I guess I'm only going to do one example, and then you're going to do a bunch of examples in practice. Okay, so, I mean, you get the idea from one. So find f inverse given f of x equals cube root of 2x minus 1. Okay. And of course they're giving you something that's 1-to-1, so the inverse is a function, and just assume that they are, because otherwise you'll end up with something like a plus or minus square root or something weird like that. Okay, and your f inverse will be a relation but not a function. So the ones they give you, they're 1-to-1. Or the ones I give you, those are also 1-to-1. So f of x equals cube root of 2x minus 1. I just rewrote it with color so you can see where stuff goes. So the f of x is going to turn into a y first. That's all I did. Very simple, not hard. And then I need to solve for x. So how do you solve for x? Well, you actually, my teachers, when I was in undergrad, used to call this peeling the onion. You start from the outside. On the right side, you start from the outside and you get rid of one thing at a time until you get into the x. So the way you do that is by composing both sides of the equation with the inverse of each function as you go. Okay, so the outside function on the right is a cube root. So I need to cube both sides of the equation. And you probably already knew that, but we're thinking of it as an inverse function of the cube root function, right? So we just want to keep those things in mind. So, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, look, you could either solve for x and then switch x and y, or you could switch x and y and then solve for y. Those two steps are interchangeable. It doesn't matter. The only things that you have to do in the right order are going from f of x to y, the first step, and the very last step, going from y to f inverse of x. Right? Those have to be on the first and second. The two middle steps you can switch, but so I apologize. The way I had it on the previous page, I switched the x and y first. So that's all I did. Pretty easy, right? Just switch the x and y. And if there were more x's on the right-hand side, I'd have more y's after I switched, right? But there won't be for these problems. So then I cube both sides, as I was saying. And now I need to get rid of this minus 1. See? If you think of this as a composition of functions, you think, okay, first I'm doing the multiply by 2 function, if I were to plug a number in, right? And then I'm doing the subtract 1 function. So we have to do the opposite function in the opposite order. So we start on the outside of the onion, which was the cube. The next layer is this minus 1. We're working our way into y. So minus 1, what's the opposite of that? Plus 1, right? So you're actually adding 1 to both sides. You're composing both sides with the function f of x g of x equals x plus 1. X plus 1. Just adding 1 to both sides of the equation. It's that simple, right? And then you're doing the division by 2 on both sides, which is also the inverse of the multiply by 2. Right? And you get that. Okay, we're almost done. I just need to replace the y with f inverse of x, the thing I was looking for, the thing I was asked to find. That thing right there, except maybe a little more colorful. I rewrote it that way because we like to have the y on the left. You don't have to, but we kind of like it. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Now, when people get these wrong, they'll get them wrong repeatedly, because if I give you a really easy one, maybe you can just see right away what the answer is, so you write it down. And you get used to doing that on all the problems. So when you get one that's more steps like this, you just take a wild guess and write it down. And then you get it wrong, like more than half the time. So and on a test, you get it right. You get it wrong even more often than you do on homework. So most people would. So just go through, no matter how simple they are, go through and do them exactly like this, exactly with these 4 steps. And then you can't go wrong. Okay, so those are not the hardest problems, but they are the ones that the most people miss. Okay, that's it with that chapter. Yay!